What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Not So Pro Fantasy Football. We're back. It's Tuesday. We're talking live fantasy football. We're answering every single question that gets put on our comment section, either live or uh, during. Ray, we are not late. We did it right on time. But Vince, how was your fantasy football weekend?
Pretty good, pretty good. I was fighting to go perfect this weekend. I lost my only league out of five by about, I think it was 9 points. I had a lot of underperformers in that league, and it was our dynasty league, so I'm not sweating it because, it's either having success now or having success later. But in all my standard leagues, I went 4 for 4, so pretty happy about it.
Very nice, very nice. Big Money Joe says, "Sup, AJ? Sup, Vince?" I had a lot of underperformers this past week, and I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. But I'm keeping a close eye on a lot of people. Number one, I think the biggest question for a lot of people out there is, what the he double hockey sticks do I do with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Right? He has one catch for what was it, 4 yards? One catch for 4 yards, and everyone keeps putting up that video at the end of the game where he was wide open, clear touchdown, and Kyler Murray just rather run the ball. And to top it off, I have Kyler Murray as well. He only had about 14 points. Didn't really do much because he kept on getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage, so it counts as a sack. He had that fumble lost, so it doesn't really look good. So what do you do with Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think you don't panic, right? I think you give the rookie his week one, and I think his gameplay will evaluate as the season progresses. I'm not too worried about it, but what are your thoughts here, Vince?
Yeah, man, I just traded somebody in one of my leagues for him. So I forgot the trade in its entirety, but I'm getting him, uh, and he's going to be my fourth guy. So he's going to go into one of the two flex spots for me. I think he's a steal right now if you could trade people for him who are just losing faith. But if you have him on your team, I think you need to keep him, need to stash him until he is producing. If you don't want to take a chance and put him in your flex because maybe he'll have another bad week this week, go ahead and do that. But please keep him on your team. This guy is highly sought after. So I think he's just going to adjust to the league just like everybody else does.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to do. That's actually in my notes as well. If you guys haven't yet read my fantasy cheat sheet for week two, it says players to buy low on, and that is Marvin Harrison Jr. That should be the number one guy you should be targeting. I was targeted actually by Vince today to see if you could get Marvin Harrison Jr. And I was like, dude, no, like, you know me, man, I can't. But you don't draft a wide receiver, the first wide receiver in the draft, and not utilize him in the season. I think they're just easing him into the league.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
it says Vince Debo needed one more cash for 20, and I lost by 1 point. Dude, that sucks. Uh,
Yeah. I think, who was it? I think it was, shoot, what's his name? I'm blanking right now, guys. Sorry, I'm so tired. But I think it was in the free league for NSP. I think you were going against him, but it was somebody else who was commenting yesterday. I think it was Liam, saying that he's like, I hope Debo doesn't get one more catch because then I'm cooked and I lose in the league. And I think he said he was playing you. So I think that's the matchup you're talking about.
yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, dude, the Niners are all over the place, underperforming. Brandon Ayuk, that was another guy out there. I didn't start him this week. I kind of figured what was going to happen, but that's another guy not to hit the panic button on. This guy will be coming out. He's going to have a bigger role. Let that rust come off. I mean, it's his own fault. He missed all of offseason. He had two drop passes. One was a perfect dime by Brock Purdy in the
Touchdown.
end zone. I mean, that throw could have been even more perfect, right? And if you're a
Yeah.
top wide receiver, you make that catch. He's getting paid like one, but he's not playing like one at the moment. Big Money Joe says, you had underperformers. I'm king of underperforming week one. Uh, this was actually one of the worst weeks I've ever had playing fantasy football, but that's okay. I'm in 5 leagues, won 2 of the 5, and they weren't pretty wins either. Yeah, because a lot of them I invested heavily. Marvin Harrison Jr. I was all over the place with quarterbacks, but then Puka Nakua goes down, right? So
Yeah.
that is huge because people like me, they're like, oh man, I see other analysts, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. He's not a first rounder. He went too high, and I chose Marvin Harrison Jr. the first pick in the second round, but my
Mhm.
pick in the first round was Puka Nakua,
Puka.
and that's just the double whammy that got me the loss there. Almost came back with the great kicker Jake Moody, who was perfect, 5 for 5, but it wasn't enough. Ray says tight end position is cooked. We're old school now. We are old school now. We're looking at old school fantasy football with tight ends. We don't have a Mark Andrews or prime Mark Andrews. We don't have a prime Travis Kelce at the moment
Yep.
where these guys are just racking up 15, 20 points, just making these teams just absolutely stellar. But we have legit legit tight ends where if they get close to 5 targets, I mean, that is ideal for you to have that
Yeah,
tight end. But Vince, you're our
that's
tight
cream
end
of the
guy.
crop.
Who are you looking out for here? Or go ahead and shoot the obvious if you like.
I mean, obviously, everybody's trying to like get after Isaiah Likely because he was the basically only tight end who was worth a damn this week. I believe in PPR leagues he was averaging around 21 points. Could have been even more, but he just couldn't get that other foot within the touchdown area to take that game uh, from the Kansas City Chiefs there. But it is what it is. Isaiah Likely looks like he is going to overtake in Baltimore. But other guys that, didn't do so bad are like Colby Parkinson, Hayden Hurst, Okonkwo. Again, it's not like those 20-point games that everybody's striving to get with their tight end. Whether you got some guys like McBride, Laporta, but I say give it a week or two. Don't hit the panic button yet. Tight ends will emerge. It was just a really bad week of football in its entirety. A lot of underperformers. It was, again, I believe we only had 41 touchdowns compared to like 3 or 4 years ago when we had like 50 plus.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of scoring going on. It was a lot of field goals, as we saw with Moody and with the guy from the Cowboys, Aubrey.
Aubrey.
It's just a lot of field goal kicking this week. A lot of defense. So that's great to see. Everybody loves defense on this channel, I believe. So it's just going to be tough coming into these first weeks, but don't hit the panic button on your guys. Keep your tight ends. If you can get Isaiah Likely, get him. But if not, don't sweat it. Your rosters will work themselves out.
Yeah, and that's not even a full guarantee that he's going to be the tight end one, right, on that team. It's just we
Yeah.
saw a lot of upside there, and you'd be wrong not to give it a shot to get him in the waiver wire as your first overall waiver pick. Big Money Joe says 0-4. Thanks CMC. Oh man, that stinks, right? But Jordan Mason, I'm not even going to say he's a great value CMC because I mean I knew the Niners are going to be good, even with Jordan Mason, the guy who averaged 5.7 yards per carry last year. Thoughts on Jameson Williams? Wow. Okay, we're going with some good questions here. My thoughts on Jameson Williams is he's a super talented wide receiver, right? He was the number one ranked wide receiver in his class, but due to injury and some off the field issues, he got moved down the draft. Lions moved up to get him, and now he looks really good, right? He looks really good. But if you look at the gameplay, he is a big play type of player, right? So his ceiling is extremely high, but you're also going to be dealing with an extremely low floor. Okay, there's not going to be a median there. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he had, what was it,
5 for
four,
9.
5 for 9.
He had one rush for like 12, 13 yards. And then I
Mhm.
think he had somewhere around 120 yards, something like that, and a touchdown.
Yeah, and that touchdown was deep, right?
Yeah.
It was super deep. Don't mind Jameson Williams. You're not going to find him on the waiver wire, so don't bother looking for him. He's owned in like 90% of leagues. But hey, if he does it again, if he repeats it, then I'm not too mad to have him in a flex position. I think clearly the wide receiver one position it's still Amon-Ra St. Brown. He did have a bad game, off game, had a drop pass there, but I'm not going to hold that against him. He should still be a starter in every single week.
Yep. Same thing with Laporta. Those guys are the top two guys, followed by Gibbs. So again, in my opinion, Jameson Williams will be the fourth option there, so I wouldn't rely on him too heavily. I think he'll come back down to his rate of maybe a 10 to 15 point guy, which is still not bad.
Yeah. Niners wins cures everything. It does cure a lot. It does. I had people coming up to me saying, "Oh, you're lucky the Niners played a bad team."
Everybody was high on him.
Yeah, I was like, "Don't talk to me. Please don't talk. You go support your Cowboys." Big Money Joe says McBride in every league. Hey, I won't be so sad about that. Okay, a lot of upside there. It's just that you had some pretty poor QB play,
Yep,
right? We saw the makeshift of Lamar Jackson, what he wants to do. He rushed a lot, didn't gain a lot, right? There is not a lot of upside in his rushing. And we saw that his height did play a factor this past game. He hit the offensive line, I believe, 2 times when trying to hit his wide receivers. And I do believe one of those targets was Trey McBride. I just think you got to figure out a better game plan for Kyler Murray, right? It's just, it wasn't working out. And it kind of seems like that offensive line didn't get any better from last season. But you got James Conner. And how many times I got to preach about James Conner, dude? That dude's a
stud,
dog. He's an
stud.
absolute stud. Oh, Red Fett, what's going on, Red Fett? Appreciate you being here. Says, just want to say, go Bucks. Hope all is well, boys. Dude, speaking about the Bucks, Vincent, quarterback play, a guy who you should probably keep an eye on, or maybe just pick him up, is Baker Mayfield.
Baker.
And if you guys know, I've been a Baker guy since day one. I don't care what these guys said during the live stream. Baker guy since day one. That video footage was AI created. Not having it, right? Um, bring out the footage with me with a headband, then you guys would be convinced. This guy throws 4 touchdowns and just has an absolute field day. He looks comfortable. Why wouldn't he be comfortable with that wide receiver core, right?
Exactly.
And they look great. And then you even see Rashad White going in there getting his piece. He's not a traditional running back. That's a pass catching back. That's where he gets all his points. This is a pass heavy team. So if you are in the market or if you're in need of a quarterback, I wouldn't mind Baker Mayfield, especially if you're one of those Jordan Love owners, right? You got to be worrying there. Now, Vincent, would you rather take someone like Baker Mayfield, or if he's not available, would you rather get someone like Derek Carr over Malik Willis?
I would honestly. I don't think Malik Willis is really gonna cut it with Green Bay. Like Reed said in our last live, uh, Malik Willis really isn't acclimated to that roster. Yes, he has guys around him, but he's no Jordan Love. He's not gonna make those throws as good as Jordan Love did. I don't know if he has the chemistry yet, so we really don't know who he's gonna rely on. Could rely on tight ends, could rely on Dobbs, could rely on Reed if he's open. But my big thing is he going to get it there? Is he going to be able to see everything with the pressure that they were bringing on Love the entire time? That offensive line has stuff to work with, and I don't think Malik Willis benefits from that. So at this point in time, I may eat the words coming out of my mouth very soon, depending on how the Packers do next week. But I don't think he's going to go above 12 points in this next game for fantasy.
Dang, nice. Rave says Shadir Sanders is a Titan next year. Will Levis might not be that guy. He's overreacting. But I mean, he did make some not so smart plays as a quarterback
Mm-hmm.
there, which may have cost him, which it did. It cost him the game. It did. I will say that because for damn sure, what the hell is his name? That quarterback, Caleb Williams, did not win them that game. Wasn't it? If Jameson Williams does it again, should I sell high? I have Laporta too. Honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you don't like double dipping. Um, I would go ahead and sell Jameson Williams. I think if he does do it again, that's an obvious factor that he has a high role in this offense and he will continue to have decent games. But personally, yeah, why not go out there, maybe get a running back out of it? But yeah, people will definitely have their eye on him.
Sir.
Rave, is Ramondre Stevenson that guy? Late round steal. You heard me talk about this a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where in a bottom five offense, like I projected the Patriots to be, the number one wide receiver has a 50-50 chance of being a top 25 wide receiver for fantasy football. That's just strict analytics, right? Now I put in my own little twist on it. I'll go by those analytics, but let's do a twist where you look at the New England Patriots, and I'm going to see the number one pass catcher. I'm going to see the number one player on that team, and it's not a wide receiver, right? It's going to be Ramondre Stevenson because he dips his hand heavily in that passing game. So I betted it. I don't want to say bet it all, but I put some high emphasis on getting Ramondre Stevenson this offseason because I think he has a good 75% chance that he is fantasy relevant. He's going to be a high end running back too, probably the rest of the season. So not a bad pick. What do you think, Vince?
Yeah, I mean, this game he didn't have too much usage in the passing game, but he was very, very good in the run game. He only got 3 passes. I think he got like 2 yards, which is still good for fantasy purposes. That's 3.2 points just from passing, but he was amazing running the rock. But I think that was majority of the Bengals' weak defense. Next week he goes against Seattle. I think he'll slow down just a little bit. Our run defense isn't the best yet, but our pass defense really is, and we really don't give guys more than 5 yards from what I saw from the Broncos. You can look at the stats from the Broncos running backs. They were really shut down. But Stevenson is another animal. I think possibly he will do a lot better this season. So, yeah, I'd say he's a top 15 running back currently.
Nice. K9, welcome back, dude. Haven't seen you all fantasy offseason, man. Appreciate you being here. He has our trade question. He says, would you guys trade Drake London and Najee for Kyron Williams and JSN in Dynasty? Najee is my starter, and my wide receivers are DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, Khalil Shakir, and Brian Thomas. Honestly, for Dynasty, I like this trade a lot. My eyes are on Kyron Williams. This guy's an absolute stud. If he stays healthy, he's there long term. I think JSN will have a bigger role as years go on, especially if we see Lockett move on, maybe, hopefully. I don't know. But I know we both aren't the biggest fans of Drake London here.
Oh heck no! Trade that guy away for trash, man. But yeah, if you can get that trade, that's amazing. With Jamar Chase and DJ Moore, they're both being younger guys under 27 years of age, and Brian Thomas as well. Is this a double flex league? I don't know if it's said in the question, but if it is, I mean, you getting Kyron Williams and JSN, who are good guys to have in the long run, I think this is a great trade, and you win it outright.
Yeah, even Khalil is good to have on your team. This guy was right there with Keon Coleman. They're both going to be playing big roles, and maybe he does take that lead role this year, which would bleed into next year. So hopefully you could bank on that as well. Red Fett says, I told y'all my first time chatting with y'all to watch out for Bucky Irving. You did. I know it's only week 1, but he lead all rookies in rushing and outplayed White in the backfield, in my opinion. Yes, in your opinion, that is a fact, right? I do think he outplayed Rachaad White, which Rachaad White is very inefficient in the run game, and that's just what he is. As what K9 is saying here says, yeah, Rachaad White is really inefficient. He's really inefficient in the run game, but where his moneymaker is his pass catching abilities, which where that's where he banks off of on that offense, and that's where a lot of people like him for fantasy football. So if you're in a non PPR league, Rachaad White is probably not
high commodity.
Correct in that league. So I don't think there's any point of having him. But at this moment of time, I don't think they're going to move on from Rachaad White night and day. As long as they continue to find success with Rachaad catching those passes, he's going to stay in a very hefty rotation in that backfield.
For sure.
Big Money Joe says, I'm trying to trade CMC, but what's the lowest you would go? I sent trades for Brees, Saquon, and Mixon. Is Mixon too low? At this moment of time, Mixon looks like he is a high dollar running back, right? High end running back too. A lot of people didn't like it, but hey, that's a high powered offense, and a high powered offense needs a high powered running back. I wouldn't mind Joe Mixon. CMC, it seems low, right? Because CMC was the top guy last year, number 1 overall pick in a lot of leagues this year. But you want to get someone who's going to solidify that running back position. CMC, when he comes back healthy, this is the type of injury that could linger on all year long. I'll let Vincent go in on this because he's in the medical field and he knows more about this than I do. As he takes a sip, horrible timing. Sorry.
I'm ready to speak here. But yeah, CMC is going to be dealing with a lot of inflammation, a lot of soreness, a lot of maybe even pain while running when it deals with the Achilles. If he does have that inflammation that they are talking about, it's going to be something lingering, I believe. It's similar to if you've ever had shin splints. That's basically what it feels like. I feel like there's a stretching, a pulling on your Achilles, and it's not very comfortable, especially when you're running at the pace and the ferocity that you see CMC run at. So yeah, his Achilles is going to get inflamed, but hopefully they can keep it under control. I mean, the NFL and all these organizations have super high tech, healthy type of equipment that they can just basically put some medication in there. It's called iontophoresis, and that'll go into his Achilles tendon and basically heal it faster than usual. So I'm pretty sure they have a bunch of stuff doing like that along with cryotherapy. So honestly, I don't think it's going to be something to worry about for too long. It's only going to be a problem if they ignore it and have him play every single game. If that's the case, they don't give him any rest time. I could see a higher risk for injury, even if they are doing all those treatments on him.
Nicely said. Nicely said. Zombie K98 says, "Hi guys, what's going on, man? Appreciate you being here, Zombie." Ray says, "Thoughts on DeAndre Swift? He had coming off a very, very poor game. Only had 10 rushing attempts, but you do have to put in the fact, right, that they were from behind, right? They were behind all game long, and Caleb Williams wasn't doing crap. But this also goes to exploit the fact that maybe DeAndre Swift is not going to be getting as involved in that passing game as we initially thought. So his draft stock, I mean, yeah, his draft stock just went down. Fantasy stock, I should say, went down dramatically. You don't have to give up on him. I think he could be a week to week flex position spot, but that was just very discouraging what we saw overall as an offense from the Bears and his overall usage in the backfield for the Chicago Bears. And DeAndre Swift, he's supposed to be a pass catching back. That was not the case this past week. So we'll see what happens week 2. If you have someone else to start, I just might a flex position at most. Vincent, you're muted there.
Oh yeah, I was like, I just want to speak on Swift a little bit more. I did a trade, and this is the one involving Harrison. I got Swift and Harrison for Christian Kirk and Ramondre Stevenson. I have all my flexes filled out. I just need a little bit more depth. And even though Stevenson is a great guy to have, I saw Harrison get that low number, and I said I could use another guy to get in there on those bye weeks. And I think Harrison is that guy. I still believe in DeAndre Swift. It was just a bad offensive game for the Bears. I think their offense has more upside than the Patriots' offense. So that's why I was comfortable giving Stevenson away to get Swift and Harrison. But yeah, don't worry about Swift. If you want to trade him low right now, I think it could possibly be a mistake. I think he's going to have much better games than the 5-point game he had this week. So in my opinion, don't hit the panic button on those guys with the Bears. Maybe 2 weeks from now, they should all be pretty decent.
I like that. I like that. Rave says, Vince, I'm starting your the Seattle Seahawks defense against New England. Yeah, I wouldn't be fooled by the Cincinnati Bengals. They were just abysmal, horrible, horrible. So I will start the Seattle Seahawks defense as well. Keenan says, yeah, it's a double flex. Red Fat. Random shout out to Kittle for ditching that Power Rangers looking helmet. Yeah, I don't like that helmet. You see Nick Bosa wearing it as well. It's nasty, but hey, players got to do what they got to do to protect their head, right? This injury doesn't heal yet. It lingers on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of pain management, which, I mean, CMC, he will go out there. He will play. He said in a press conference saying that, hey, if this was a playoff game, if this was a Super Bowl, I'm out there. I'm out there no matter what, right? It was a very smart move for the Niners to sit out Christian McCaffrey week 1. All right. You don't want that Achilles to just pop. That would be worst case scenario. Nino Pena, what's going on, dude? Appreciate you being here live. We haven't seen you here since the last fantasy football season. It says, my league mates believe I panicked and pulled the trigger too fast. Any thoughts? redraft, traded away Neighbors for DJ Moore. Okay, so personally, I don't like this. In a stat standpoint, you're kind of it looks like a lateral move because DJ Moore, he did great, right? He had 8 targets. That's not bad. You want to see that in a wide receiver. They were training from behind, so they're airing out the ball a lot. So how much of that is actually true? But we weren't very impressed with any wide receiver out there from Chicago, right? Keenan Allen wasn't very impressed. DJ Moore had the targets right. Would like to see a little more points on that. And then you have blanking out here. Why am I blanking? Oh, Roma Dunze, where he didn't have a big role either. So the guy to have there is definitely DJ Moore. Um, but Malik Neighbors, as his first game as a rookie, he did pretty well, right? I believe he had 7 targets out there. And then one thing that I do like about Malik Neighbors being on the New York Giants, besides the point where he has probably one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, is that the New York Giants, you definitely see these guys trailing in almost every game they're going to be playing for the rest of the season, right? So if they're trailing, if they're being desperate to come out, catch up, that means they're throwing the hell out of that ball. I really like Malik Neighbors here. I think he has such a great ceiling and a low floor. Such a great ceiling and a high floor, while DJ Moore has a high ceiling and possibly a lower floor than Malik Neighbors. But I wouldn't say it's a drastic change, right? So I would have beat yourself up about it. Me personally, I think I would have rolled on with Malik Neighbors. What do you think, Vince?
Yeah, I think I would have too. I feel like he just has a little bit more upside to me than DJ Moore. It's just going to be a lot more sharing on that Bears defense offense, even when they get rolling. So DJ Moore could be a good guy to have. For me, this year he's a flex guy in my opinion. But I think Neighbors is a either wide receiver 2 or a low wide receiver 1, since he basically is the only guy on that team that, in my opinion, is worth drafting. So I don't think it's too bad, but I think I would have preferred Neighbors over DJ Moore this year. But again, who knows?
Rave says, I got a feeling he's going to force it and aggravate it even more so Jordan Mason could be a league winner. Absolutely, that is a huge possibility. Right at this moment, dude, I don't think Shanahan wants to risk anything to ruin his chances of making it to the Super Bowl. He seems pretty serious. So do these players. But I'm in this predicament right now where I'm in the middle of a trade, right? I'm trading away Chris Olave and Jordan Mason, and I'm getting back Zay Flowers. And say what you want, I love that trade, right? I want consistency. If Zay Flowers is going to get 8 to 10 targets a game, I'm down for it. But 3 things could happen. CMC could get put on IR. I don't think that's going to happen. If that does happen, Jordan Mason is the trade part that wins. CMC could go in, play all of it, and maybe injure himself, and then Jordan Mason takes over. In that case, Jordan Mason trade wins. Or what I'm thinking is, since Jordan Mason played an incredible game and CMC has been practicing and it's the day-to-day basis, that they rotate that backfield, right? We put CMC on a snap count. We don't rush him unless we absolutely need to, keeping him healthy all season long as much as possible, the best way as possible. In that case, I think trading away Jordan Mason is the correct move, which I do believe that's the route that the Niners are going to go with. It's very tough for Shanahan to place someone on the IR because if as a Niner fan, you know those spots are extremely valuable because they fill up very quick.
Yeah, man. I mean, well said. I think that's exactly how it's going to happen. It's going to be a rotation game. If CMC is going to need the game off because of high inflammation and high pain, and Shanahan just doesn't want to risk it, you guys have Jordan Mason there, so it's nothing to be alarmed about. But this team might be more of a rotational back team than they were last year.
I did look at all the stats. I want to look at it here, Vince, but you want to hear something crazy? Check this out, man. If I'm not mistaken, Jordan Mason had 28 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
28 rushing attempts. And who else had any rushing attempts for the San Francisco 49ers? That was Brock Purdy. with
Yeah.
one rushing attempt. So yeah, he's going to be that bell cow of that offense. Is not a guy to not a bad guy to pick up. Pick him up out there if he's in the waiver wire. Nino Pena says, appreciate that. My wide receiver room being Rice, Godwin, Neighbors, and Pickens. You think it helped the ceiling? Yeah.
Rice is going to be, I would think, a top 15 wide receiver. Godwin sneaks in there top 25 for me after the year is done. Pickens, I mean, he looked like he could have had some great catches. One of them was called back by a penalty when I was watching that game. But yeah, Neighbors I really liked. He could have been a guy that rotates in your wide receiver 2 or flex position there besides Godwin, you know. And then, of course, I'm pretty sure you have some decent running backs. So, again, you have one running back to go in the flex. But, yeah, I mean, it's not bad. DJ Moore going into the flex position is not a bad thing to have. So, I think you have a great team either way.
Yeah, I'm not too mad at that Pickens spot there, just because I mean that guy did see 7 targets in that offense. There's only so many areas where you could go, right? And I thought they're going to be heavily targeting Pat Fryermuth. Well, I thought Russell Wilson was going to be starting, and now it's Justin Fields.
Just yeah.
Where for him, some games tight end will be relevant, other games not really, because he'd rather just maybe run the ball than check it down. That's just his game style, though. But I don't mind George Pickens there. I like the ceiling with those guys. But Rice and Godwin, yeah, you'll be just fine. Red Fence says Christian wasn't the only McCaffrey who sat out week 1. Little brother didn't do squat either. Going to be hard for Jaden Daniels. I'm sure Daniels is going to be tucking and running a lot. Now, actually, no one really did anything for Washington, right?
Yep.
You see Terry McLaurin, who was very quiet, that kind of pissed off a lot of fantasy owners. I didn't get a chance to get Terry McLaurin. I wanted to, but it was very disappointing. What do you think here, Vince?
Yeah, man, I think that offense, just like the Bears, you know, they have rookie quarterbacks. I could say the same thing for Denver, but I think that Knicks played a lot better in the passing game than both of those quarterbacks did. But yeah, for Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams on those respective offenses, it's going to be a little slow getting off there. You know, these guys are good passing quarterbacks, but again, you just have to let them acclimate. This is their first game under the big lights. These guys are used to scrambling and getting out there, and then when they see some green grass, they're going to take it. It's easier than throwing the ball downfield when you have these ball hawks that they're playing against, unlike they did when they were in college. So again, they're being a little bit more conservative at this point. Give it a few weeks, they're going to be slinging the ball more than anybody. Again, I think Caleb Williams will sling it more than Jaden Daniels, but Jaden Daniels is just a dual threat, so you got to expect that.
I'm making these weird faces over here because this is a big boy trade. This is Nino Pena saying, my bad, still got one more for you guys. Ask as many questions as you like, please. We encourage any questions out here. We answer every single comment. But he got offered Amon-Ra and Pacheco for his Cooper Kupp and Alvin Kamara. I'm going to tell you this right now, okay, Mr. Pena, because you are my friend. We're friends now. Don't do that trade.
Yeah, I sit, man. I sit on what I got. Cooper Kupp with Puka out is going to be a monstrous amount of PPR points, as well as Kamara. I mean, those guys are the only option on their respective team if you really look at it. Amon-Ra has so many other guys to share the ball with. Pacheco has so many guys to share the ball with. So just sit on it, man.
And that's because I'm a huge Amon-Ra guy. If
Yeah.
I could get a chance, I'm not a huge Pacheco guy fantasy wise. I was preaching him all off season long. But let me just give you a little example here. With Puka Nacua playing almost half a game, Cooper Kupp finishes his game with 21 targets.
Yeah.
21 targets. That doesn't happen. Okay.
I think the next highest was 14.
Yes.
Like, that's insane.
You keep Cooper Kupp. He is a league winner. Okay. You keep him. And Alvin Kamara, he is also a league winner, rushing, receiving the ball. We might even see him throw a touchdown pass this season. But wow. Yeah. long run, I don't know what Cup's going to look like for the championship, right, or whatnot. But right now,
Got to
if
get
you
there, man.
yeah, if you keep those two guys, you're there. I guarantee you are there, unless a super severe injury happens, which really hope it doesn't. You are there.
Yes, sir.
Says, love you guys. Honestly, hate those sugarcoating lies. Really appreciate it, guys. Hey, it gets political for
Yeah,
fantasy. It gets
yeah,
political. I know there's some times where Vincent would hate my guts, and vice versa, man. But it is it's that's fantasy football, right?
yeah, man. Everybody's just trying to win here, so everybody's competitive. Some of the competitive juices get flowing, words get thrown. All that stuff. It's super fun though. I love it.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're the worst friend in the world, which I've been called for uh,
Not by
numerous of
me.
these.
Not by
No,
me.
no, not by you. Vince is not, throwing that. He probably thought it, right? But he wouldn't say it over that.
Yeah.
But oh geez, man, just this instant. I was trying to trade Jordan Mason for Lad McConkey before all the news, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, dude, I was trying to send Jordan Mason and Chris Olave for Lad McConkey. I felt like that's not too bad, right?
Yeah.
Obviously long term. And he was like, you're trying to trade Jordan Mason? And I was like, yeah. All right, send the trade. So I send the trade, Jordan Mason, Lad McConkey straight up. And then he counters the trade. He's like, give me Ramondre Stevenson for Lad McConkey. That's who I want, hands down. I'm like, bro, get out of here. Like, he's probably regretting it now with the
Wow.
news. But I
Yeah, for
mean,
sure.
yeah. Surprised he has. Maybe he has texted me. I haven't looked at my phone yet. Red Fett says, from someone who appreciated a good uni, shout out to Seattle for bringing the heat week 1 with the throwbacks at 1976. You guys know me, not a big Seattle Seahawk fan. One thing that I've always respected for Seattle was their uniforms. They've always had good uniforms. The only one I'm not really a big fan of, Vincent, is the all green, the highlight
Yeah,
green.
the highlight green. I think that was just a league move. Like everybody was like, "Hey, let's go highlighter," and everybody who can go highlighter, let's do it. Same thing with the mustard yellow Rams uniforms.
Oh,
Disgusting. Like there's just some uniforms out there that should not be reworn, and I think those are two of them.
I think there's some uniforms that need to be brought back, like the Niners all black.
Yeah, that was nice.
I love that jersey. I have a jersey inside the closet. I love it. Nino Pena says, how'd you guys do week 1 of your leagues? Well, one league I had Puka Nakua and Marvin Harrison Jr. on my team. Another league I had Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. on my team. And then Dynasty League, I have a whole bunch of which I did really well
Yeah,
in
you did.
Dynasty.
You
I
got some
did,
good amount of points.
yeah. I still lost because the guy who I went up against had like 170 points, but I finished off with 150. And I had the 10th waiver. What's up with that, Vince? I have the 10th
Dude,
waiver.
I don't know how that one works. I might have to change it to like whoever
I
by
think it was because
record.
I had the first overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, I think that's what it's based off of. I think after this week, it should change based on who got the last waiver,
Yeah,
So
you're taking Isaiah Likely away from me, Vince. I just hope you know that, and you are the worst human being I've ever met. Just want you to know. But Vince had a way better week. How'd you do, Vince?
Yeah, I went 4 for 5. The only league that I lost is our dynasty league. I lost it by 9 points to our other member of this channel, Reed. He's got the day off today. But I lost it to him by 9 points. Brock Purdy didn't produce for me. DK Metcalf didn't produce for me. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't produce for me. So I'm not sweating it. I have a great team. I think it was just one of those down weeks. And I'm glad that it came in week 1 because I know the rest of the weeks in the season, I should be fine. Same thing for all my other leagues. I'm assuming I should be either going 3, 4, or 5 for 5 every single week with the teams that I got. So I'm not sweating it.
Nice, Vince. Yeah, I have a lot of upside on my team. I left 60 points, 60 some points on the bench this past week. I had Jordan Mason, Ramondre Stevenson, and Jerome Ford on the bench.
Oof.
And I was just like, what's wrong with you? I look in the mirror. I was like, what is wrong with you? Pena says, as a Lions fan, I don't like the Hawks either. Them Hawks always find a way to get us. you should be excited this year if you're a Lions fan. You should be super
Mhm.
excited. I mean, I heard it again, Vince. I heard it through the TV. I heard the chants, Jared Goff, Jared.
Oh gosh,
Disgusting.
Jared
Hopefully you're not one of those, Mr. Bender.
Jared Goop.
Gosh. Redfest says, my eyes still trying to recover from seeing those Seattle neons. I forgot who it was. I think
They're
it was
blinding.
the Jets neon that really like shined out of the TV screen back in 2016.
Nah,
That was
I don't even
bad.
remember. Some of them were just horrible, man. Like the ones that I kind of did like a little bit were the Miami Dolphins. I like that little blue
Yeah,
neon color, but again, there was just some that should not be reworn.
I agree. LMAO was at the game this weekend and was most definitely one of them people. He was what a game to be at,
Wow,
dude. That is an
that's
awesome
cool.
place to be. That place is rocky. We were there for the draft.
Yeah,
Super fun
man.
experience. Loved it.
Right outside Ford Stadium. It looked nice.
Yeah. But yeah, continue on our conversation, Vincent. One guy, I'm not gonna run any victory laps here, okay, because I wasn't saying get this guy. But J.K. Dobbins comes out
Oh
and
yeah,
outproduces Gus Edwards. They split the carries, right? 12 carries for Gus, 12 carries for J.K. Dobbins, 130 yards for J.K. Dobbins compared to Gus Edwards at
like
a mere
20 something.
36 yards.
I don't know. It was so bad.
Hopefully, this is enough for Harbaugh to be like, "You're my guy. You're sitting down. Let's get this guy the ball. He looks good." J.K. Dobbins, he looks really good. This is what we were expecting when he came into the season, but he missed out his first 2 years due to injury. So, Vince, is this a guy to definitely look out for the waiver wire to pick up? Do you put a lot of emphasis on J.K. Dobbins?
I like him. I think the only reason that I'm a little bit skeptical in him being able to produce like that all season long is just going to be matchups and his health. We've always seen it when he was with the Ravens. Health was always the reason why he just could not produce like we wanted him to. But yeah, I would get him on waivers. Take the chance. Who knows? Maybe this is the season that he goes off, stays healthy all year, and he's just the guy there. I mean, it was even to the point where a lot of other guys just did not get snaps because basically JK was just running the offense by himself. So I don't know. I like it. I have him in on waivers in one league, but the other leagues I'm pretty set. So just trying to get some running back depth. If you want to, J.K. Dobbins is the guy to get.
A lot of question marks there. J.K. Dobbins is definitely my top pick for running backs. Another guy that I have for running back here is I kind of want to talk about Tank Bigsby, but I think you've done an excellent job out there on our Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord yet, please join our Discord. The link is down in the description below. People are asking, what's the deal with Tank Bigsby? Travis Etienne is clearly the running back one. Yeah, yes, he was, but
Mm-hmm.
similar story. You split the carries, and who was more productive? Tank Bigsby had an extra 40 yards over Travis Etienne, but the only difference was that Travis Etienne got the touchdown, right? So
Yeah.
it looks like Travis Etienne is still on top. He's the guy. We haven't seen this many split carries for Tank Bigsby in quite some time, but week one, you see it right away. And if the trend continues, as we've called this before, and we've been right so many years, if this trend continues, that may be Tank Bigsby's spot.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Jaguars aren't paying ETN too much money. I mean, they extended him for I believe 3 years, 12 million back in 2023, I think. So he's still got some time on his contract. But again, they're not paying him a whole lot of money. Tank Bixby, his contract should be expiring in a year or two, I believe. But yeah, them splitting 12 carries for 12 carries and Tank Bigsby just outperforming him on only 32% snap share. I mean, every time this guy was in, he was getting handed the ball and he was producing. I mean, a 6 yard per carry average is great. So I'm super high on Tank Bixby, trying to get him in our dynasty league. Hopefully I can, but we'll see. But yeah, I even like him in standard leagues, especially if you're in a 12, 14-man league. If he's out there, he needs to be on a roster. He's a guy that's most likely going to go 50-50 with ETN this year until he takes the job, maybe later in the season.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Mr. Pena says, "Yeah, I was definitely surprised by the Dobbins over Gus. Being in a hardball rush offense is always good. I mean, logistically, that's what you look at, right? Dobbins got drafted first, then you bring in Gus Edwards. Dobbins gets injured, it's Gus's position. The following year, Dobbins is about to start. He gets injured, then Gus fills in again. They both get traded to the same team. So what's the difference here? Just because, Dobbins got injured 2 times in a row, might not come back the same, probably lost his speed. If you look at it, Dobbins was always viewed as the better guy. And I am so glad they split 50-50 because for a lot of teams, this is your test run. This is what it's going to look like. And kind of like another situation over there with, I always forget his first name, Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin. Jaleel McLaughlin was taking a huge role in the preseason, and looks like he's taking that role there. Now, how much emphasis you want to put on him in your fantasy stock? You should have put too much because that offense is still pretty poor, and they're not utilizing the running backs as well as you like. But if one of those two guys get injured, you're going to want to have the other guy starting because
For sure.
they're going to be the absolute bell cow of that offense. What's going on, Andre? Appreciate you being here. You're so close. So I was keeping an eye on you on our pick'ems, the game pick'ems. She was right there
Oh
with me. She was
yeah, she's
tied.
right there.
Yeah, and then I'm ashamed of everyone. Everyone in the top contentions did not have the Niners. That's wow.
I know it was pretty wild. That's why a lot of them fell down and are tied with me and Reed, or they went a game below us. So pretty crazy.
I think Reed would have been tied with me too, but he had the Jets.
Yep.
So I can't wait for our Thursday video when we release our new pick'ems. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I was looking at them today, and it's not going to be easy, right?
Yep.
It's never easy.
It's not, man. I mean, we saw it today. I mean, on this last week, basically, majority of us missed 6 or 7 games. Some of us a little bit more. It's just hard to pick them.
It is.
No pun intended there.
Another guy or two sets of guys I want to talk about. Now, you could go out there in the waiver wire, maybe as a late waiver wire pick. These guys will not change your team dramatically, but this is great to have for depth out there. And these are still running backs. Let's talk about Justice Hill and Alexander Madison.
Yeah.
These guys are not going to out carry the running back ones there, right? They are the running back threes. And I haven't showed this much love in RB3s in quite some time. I mean, third down backs is what I'm trying to say. But both of them had 6+ targets in their game, with Alexander Madison having, 7 or 8 targets. Absolutely insane, right? These guys are good to have for depth because they're going to get the opportunity to catch the ball. If you're in a PPR league, that's at least 6 points right there. Because when you look at wide receiver ones on some teams, they're getting 5 to 6 targets, right? Other teams, they're getting 21 targets like Cooper Kupp. But in some scenarios, if a running back is getting that many targets, that's definitely a running back that you might want to have, especially if they're getting some usage on third down. And usually, you know what happens on third down when you're real close to the end zone and you just need to punch it in? It gives it to those guys, right? So those are definitely some guys to keep an eye on. What are your thoughts on third down running backs for fantasy football, Vince?
Honestly, I have Alexander Madison at the top of my list for my waiver pick'ems. He's just the guy who's gonna get a lot of service done to him because, of course, Zamir White is ahead of him. But Zamir White, we were always thinking, like, is he going to be productive enough to keep that spot? Alexander Madison is right behind him. They also have a rookie in Lob that they drafted this year. And then, of course, Amir Abdullah, too. So all those guys are pass-catching backs. But Alexander Madison takes the cake for me this week. It's going to be a game script for the Las Vegas Raiders a lot. They're going to be passing to their backs. They're going to be passing to guys that are healthy there. I can't remember his name, Myers, right now. Jacoby Myers once he's back out there and 100% healthy, he's going to be a guy also they're going to be targeting. So maybe Alexander Madison takes a little bit of a dip, but I still think he's at the top of my waiver wire for running backs that are going to get a lot of usage. And I mean, 60% of the snap share, game script is going to tell it all, man. Las Vegas is going to be trailing in a lot of games, in my opinion.
On that note, with Las Vegas, Zamir White is definitely a guy who you shouldn't worry about starting. I do believe this is a guy that you could sit out this week. 13 carries and not doing anything with them. That is huge. Sorry, Zamir. We had a lot of hopes. You are the lead back in that team, but you got to do more with it. You got to do more. You got to show us something. I want to head over real quick, Vincent, to the wide receiver position. We haven't talked a lot here, and you made some great points on the Discord again. All right, talking about Shalil Shakir. Is that his name? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Shakir. Yeah, I think I mentioned him like one
Not
time.
not Shakir. Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah,
So, there's Shalil Shakir. It's Khalil Shakir and Rashid Shaheed. I get mixed up. I got so many names up here. But
yeah.
Rashid Shaheed, he leads the team in targets, right? They look great. While Chris Olave kind of takes the back seat and didn't do really much. I do want to add a couple key points here. They didn't have to pass a lot this game. They were leading by a whole bunch, but I'm not going to make that as an excuse for them. And hopefully it does change in the future, but that's just not right, right? If this continues, this trend continues, it might be worth a waiver wire pick to pick up Rashid Shaheed because he didn't look bad. He looked pretty
Looks
good.
good.
And he would have been the wide receiver one if it wasn't for Chris Olave getting drafted so high, right? Because he's been this is his third year with the team, I believe, and he's always looked pretty good. Even when Michael Thomas was with the team, you wanted to pick out Rashid because he was getting those touches that or those targets that you would expect. So I know you agree there, Vince, but would you pick him up over this next guy I want to talk about? And Andrea says Zeke or Zamir White PPR.
I think I might go Zeke, just because of matchup purposes.
That's crazy, right? We're going
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott over Zamir White, full PPR. Zamir White's not catching the ball.
Nope.
Yeah, he's not going to get the ball thrown to him. He may have one target or two, but Ezekiel Elliott is the guy. That sounds so disgusting. He's the guy right now that you want to start over Zamir White. I'm not saying he's the guy, right? You can
Yeah.
definitely tell that he's not what he once was. Can I drop Gus Edwards for Justice Hill? I think that's you're kind of
I would
over shooting the
say,
gun too fast
yeah.
here.
I think Justice Hill will be a droppable guy in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Baltimore is going to be a good offense, in my opinion, still. They're easing Derrick Henry into the carries. I know they said that he's not going to be that guy to get like 20 plus carries, but he's going to get a lot more efficient. We've seen it time and time again as the season goes along. Derrick Henry gets stronger for some odd reason. I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, I'd say hold on to Gus for a little bit longer. Justice Hill is only going to be a game script type of guy. So.
Mm-hmm. Remember, like we said right before we talked about Justice Hill and Alexander Madison, these are not guys that are going to change your team completely. They're just for depth. And the only reason I know we just dissed on Gus, right? But the only reason why we are keeping Gus at this moment of time is because we don't know if they're going to be changing the game plan, right? If they keep the same game plan and they share the ball 50-50, then overall you're not going to want Gus there, right? But he's still going to have probably a little more value than Justice Hill if they are sharing the ball 50-50 and if he's rushing the ball for 12 times a game. So he's going to have some value. But the guy I was talking about, Vince, to take over Rashid Shaheed, would you put any emphasis on Wan'Dale Robinson? We talked about Wan'Dale last year, and I know. You got to hear me out here. You got to hear me out. But
No, like I like Wan'Dale. It's just the team, man.
the team sucks. The team sucks, and your two best players, one of them's a rookie wide receiver, and the other one is Wan'Dale Robinson. And Wan'Dale, you might not know the name, but he's actually a good wide receiver. If
Yes,
you
yes.
look at his tape, if you watch him during the games, he's a good wide receiver. He hustles. He likes to get the yards after the catch. And the one thing I liked about him, Vincent, was that he finished off the game, which I thought before the Cooper Cup game was a lot of targets. He had
you
12
you
targets.
you flip those, yeah. And
He had 12 targets, which when I was doing my research at the time during the Sunday night football game,
yeah,
that was the most targets out of any wide receiver. He was tied, right? Someone else had 12 targets, but that was just unheard of, right? For someone like him. And you're just like, okay, well, he didn't quite do too much with it, but that's not going to happen against the New York Giants, right? You got Daniel Jones. But like I said with Malik Neighbors, they're gonna be trailing every single game. They're going to
yes,
struggle every single game. So sorry for you Devin Singletary owners, but the ball's going to get passed a lot here. So that is great news for Malik Neighbors, who has 7 targets, and for Wandale Robinson, who had 12 targets. That's a lot because he was the slant guy. He was a
yeah.
slant guy. So he can't throw it deep because the defense is right up in his face every single play. So he's going to drop it off to the slant guy. And it looked very good. There's a lot of upside there. So what are your thoughts? Would you take him over Rashid, or would you at least give him a thoughts in the waiver wire?
Here's what I think. I think Wando Robinson is going to be the more consistent guy. So again, we've always talked about this. I'm a guy of consistency. I don't like those boom or bust type players. I hate having that thought in the back of my mind, like, damn, he could only get 2 points this week, and I would hate that. But Wando's going to be a guy who is going to get the receptions. He's shifty. He's small. He's quick. He's that beautiful slot wide receiver you want on your team. And Malik Neighbors takes a lot of attention because nobody wants to get bested by a rookie. So they're going to have a lot of attention on him. And Wandale is going to, benefit from that. Along with that offense, there's not too many other guys. Darius Slayton, he's a revolving New York Giant receiver. He's always in and out, either Jalen Hyatt or even shoot, I don't even know who else they have, honestly. But Jalen Hyatt is also a rookie there who could come in for Darius Slayton. But Wando is going to be a guy who gets, 50% of snaps, 60% of snaps every single game. And as AJ said, they are going to be trailing a lot. So I think I would rather have Wandale over Shaheed. But there's one guy who I'd rather have above them all. And I think right now, just because of game script and how this team is trying to basically come back from a horrible showing, if Alan Lazard is out there, go get him. 9 targets, 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns. That Rodgers connection with him is still there. He's going to rely on him because there's still a little bit of trouble with Garrett Wilson. He's got that good instinct, but Rodgers always can't rely on him because Rodgers is looking a little bit inaccurate. And the only guy on that team that knows how to work with Rodgers on a brain to brain wavelength with the telekinesis is Alan Lazard. So I'd hate to say it because Alan Lazard could just totally bust, but right now I'd rather have that guy for the time being until he drops out on the face of the earth. So
Not bad. Yeah, 9 targets is no joke,
yeah,
especially him getting all the touchdowns. Even though one was, I hate those type of touchdowns. It was a free
I,
play that
I
the
know.
defense stopped playing, and it was whatever. Parker Bledsoe, what's going on, dude? Haven't talked to you in a while, Mr. Bledsoe. Says, should I accept this trade? I get JT and I trade Achan. Ah,
Hmm.
man, I really don't like this. I'd rather stay with Achan. It's going to be a high, productive offense. I get it. You still got Raheem Mostert, and I get it. Achan, Raheem, they're both dealing with injury already. But Jonathan Taylor, he is the bell cow of that offense. With how many carries did he have? He had 16 carries, but was only able to get 48 yards. It wasn't too impressive. The offensive line didn't look that great. And you're going to see Anthony Richardson rushing the
Yeah.
ball a lot. And that's what I don't like. So overall productivity for passing and rushing are going to go down. And then when you're in the red zone, you're going to be that Josh Allen Lamar a hater because Anthony Richardson might just rush the ball
Run
for a
it in.
touchdown and take away from JT. And that's why he only finished with 10 points while having 16 carries. So, yeah, it wasn't the greatest. I know he had a touchdown, but Achan, he has all the opportunity in the world. And I'm not too worried about his injury. But if we look at his productivity real quick from week 1,
It's
uh,
great.
it was awesome. He had 10 attempts, so less, way less than Jonathan Taylor. But he also had 7 targets in the backfield, and that is huge. Jonathan Taylor didn't have any targets in the backfield because Anthony Richardson does not check down. He rather run the ball. While Achan, 10 targets, 7 targets, 10 rushing attempts. You got
I
to go
like
with the
that.
high upside here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he went 7 for 7 too. So that's the benefit there. Uh, that's just how it goes, you know. JT might have those weeks where he just goes off, and that's totally fine. You can miss out on those weeks and have the consistency with HN because he is a dual type running back. Yeah, Mostert's still there, but HN is just super productive. So why get rid of him?
He had 76 yards
Hmm.
from passing.
Yep.
That's absolutely nuts. That's so great. Last question, pick 2. DK, Devontae, Sutton, Flowers.
Oof, man, this is a tough one. DK underperformed. Sutton underperformed. But then again, these two are going against great defenses, back to back. Basically, they're head to head here. So uh, I think both of them will do better. But I think I'm gonna go with Flowers and Devontae here until I see something that I like from DK and Sutton. Sutton is the last guy on this roster for me to pick between. So I think I'm going to go Devontae and Flowers just because of the matchup sake. I think these guys will have an easier time getting the ball this week.
Yeah, I was gonna vote Devontae and Flowers as well. Flowers, he was the main target all first half of the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And all of a sudden, they kind of fell off. They're just throwing it to Isaiah Likely, which is not a bad thing. But I think Zay Flowers is going to still continue to have a big role on this offense. While Devontae Smith, if they are in a good game, he's going to get his fair share of targets as well. And they are going up against the Atlanta Falcons. So I don't think the passing volume is going to be as high as it was last time. But I think I feel much safer with Devontae over DK at this moment of time and Courtland Sutton. So yeah, very well said, Vince. I like that. Well, guys, we're about to finish up. So I always finish up these videos here with announcing what defenses I would like to stream for week 2 because I don't hold on to defenses. I like to stream for the best possible outcome. And number 1, as far as defense, I'm getting the Chargers over the Carolina Panthers because the
Yeah.
Panthers suck.
Yeah.
And that's that. I don't have to explain anymore. Up next, I'm going with the Jets over the Titans. If the Jets are available, a lot of people are losing their faith in them, but they're going up against the Titans, which they imploded this past game. So, and I don't think the Jets have a bad defense. They have a really good defense. They just got exposed by a good offense. It's just, and plus it was week 1, and they had 2 key injuries in their defense. So Sauce Gardner should be 100% healthy. Reed should also be 100% healthy on that defense. We should definitely see them bounce back. Up next, Raiders at Ravens. You're going to want to take the Ravens here. They have an excellent defense going up against the Raiders, who struggled tremendously. I will definitely take the Ravens over that. And then Steelers at Broncos. The Broncos had everything handed to them in the beginning of the game,
Yeah.
and they couldn't do crap. So I don't think the Steelers, with how great TJ Watt played,
Oh, yeah.
he's not going to allow them to even breathe offensively. So I'm definitely taking the Steelers there. If you want another shot at a defense that none of those teams are available for whatever reason, go for Seattle. I doubt Seattle's available, but I take Seattle this week as well. And I just talked about it, but Seattle, they are going up against I have it right here. The
Patriots.
New England Patriots. Now, I'm not totally fooled with the New England Patriots just yet, right? I want to make them earn their stripes. But Seattle's defense ain't no joke either. They put up some great points, and I believe they could do it again.
Yeah, man. I think my sleeper defense of this week, from other than the guys that you were saying, the teams that you were saying, I don't know if I heard the Jacksonville Jaguars in there, but Cleveland is still trying to figure some stuff out. And Jacksonville had a productive week last week against Miami. Miami put up some points. They, let some passes go over the top of them. But I don't think Cleveland's going to be doing a lot of that. I think it's going to be a run heavy type of script. And I think Jacksonville can kind of cover that up. So I think don't sleep on Jacksonville. If none of the teams that AJ said here are on the waiver wire, or you just don't get them and the Jacksonville Jaguars are sitting there, don't sleep on them. I think they could have a very productive week this week.
Very well said. Well, that's all we got. Hopefully, we get some more traction next week. But if you guys haven't yet or missed this video, I did release a waiver wire video earlier today where I screwed up like 5 times saying Tank Dell instead of Tank Bigsby. But I did edit Tank Bigsby's name on the screen. So if you're watching it, you'll see it there. I have like tons of arrows pointing at it. Can't believe I did that, right? Rookie mistake. But thank you all so much for joining us here live. Vince, you have anything else to say?
Nah, man. Let's just get ready for week 2.
Heck yeah, brother. Put those waivers in tonight. You got to put them in tonight. Don't forget. All right. Awesome. Thank you all so much. And until next time, keep on grinding.